Desert Boy here. Hey, recently I just went on vacation. I had a great time. I was up here in the Mountain West, went over into the Northwest. Uh, there was an event that we were going to. It's one with my wife. We're going to visit family. Had a great time. Took kind of a scenic route on the way where we kind of skirted the edges of Yellowstone and a lot of beautiful mountains. Saw probably well over 100 elk out there wandering around one day, just stuff like that. You see antelope, all that stuff. Fortunately, we didn't see any bears or anything, so that's fine with me, okay? So anyway, we went on this trip, and as I got ready to plan, I recently did that series on different things to do, when you're getting started and so forth, and talking about handguns. One of the things I talked about was when you get ready to travel. And so, or you go, you're thinking about going to another state for some reason, or another town, maybe even. Some places allow towns to have different laws. So want to make sure you're in compliance with all your local, state, and federal firearms laws, rules, permitting, training, all that stuff. So I do have a permit here in the state I'm in here. And so I got ready to go. And one of the things I did was I went and checked with the resources. There's resources out there to check reciprocity. Now, if you need to contact the states or the places you're going to, then you need to do that. You need to make sure you're in compliance with all those things. And so I checked to make sure, where I'm at here in Montana, I thought, well, I'm going over into Idaho. Okay, they were compliant. They have reciprocity, and also because I was going to be down near the border of Wyoming and possibly could have crossed over into Utah or something, I made sure, there was compliance there. Okay. Now, there's another state that's real close up in northern Idaho. If you've ever been up in Idaho, they call it the Panhandle up there. It's not very wide, and a lot of people, they travel between Coeur d'Alene and Spokane. So when you do that, you go into Washington. Washington's got a whole nother set of laws. So it's very different, and so you want to make sure if you're going to go somewhere like that you understand what those laws are and what the regulations are as well. For me, because I had been up in that area before, and I knew I might travel there, I did get an out-of-state resident. What do they call it? Out-of-state resident. No, not resident. Out-of-state permit, right? You're not a resident, and they do have them. So I had to double check to make sure, because they have, and that's the other thing. Laws change. Some states, California, Washington, they like to change the law all the time, especially with firearms. So, you need to make sure nothing's changed. Just because you have a permit 2 years ago, you got it, or a year ago, doesn't mean that something hasn't changed. And that's true of any state you go to. It wouldn't matter if it's, next door Idaho or even in your own state. You need to make sure. And sometimes some places allow, like I said, for certain areas to change them. So anyway, checked on all that, made sure I was, you make sure that you understand what the prohibited areas are, what the rules are. Some places, you can't even carry in a restaurant that serves alcohol, for example, or something. So you just need to be sure of that. So that's what I did. I made sure I was being compliant. The other thing I asked myself is, what am I going to be doing? Well, I'm going to be traveling through a lot of open country. It's true, we have towns and up here, a big town, it could be 20, 30,000, so it's a more urban environment. Could be 100,000, could be more, in certain metro areas like, Coeur d'Alene's kind of part of Spokane's metro area. But so you're like, I got rural and urban. Okay, well, what should I take? Well, I don't want to take my 45 Colt 7.5-inch single action revolver just in case I run across big game, but I need to have something that could potentially maybe deal with that. So for me, I decided to take I brought my Galco shoulder holster, right? And I brought my Ruger Security 6 and 357 Magnum. And we'll check it unloaded. It's unloaded, right? And because I could carry, some decent self-defense rounds and, potentially the low end of dangerous game type rounds. Now, really, I prefer it be 45 plus P or a 44 Magnum or 41 Magnum. If If I'd had a 41 Magnum, I would have brought that probably. But so I brought that, and I had self-defense ammo for it. But I also carried some Buffalo Bore outdoorsman ammo as well, in case I had encountered any kind of dangerous game, or unless I felt like I should change over to that, or put partial load of each in there. You have to decide, what works best for you. And I brought, obviously I showed you one reloader, and I had another one, another type of reloading with me. Did I bring any other guns? Well, yes, I did. Now, the other thing is, when you're traveling, you want to have a way to secure your firearms. So I always bring a couple of lock boxes with me. I also have trigger locks, and in this one is where I had my other revolver. Now, I could have brought my Ruger LCR 357 Magnum, because this is an LCRX, but it's in 9mm. And I brought it because it can use 9mm ammunition. So I've got a 38 357 essentially in 9mm. So it has a little more zip on it than maybe the 38s I would carry in my plus Ps in my Ruger LCR, because shooting 357s out of it is not a lot of fun. So that's what I did. I brought that, and of course I made sure I brought a holster for it as well. I also brought a second holster for my Ruger Security 6, because I might want to hip carry it. I may not want to carry it. Although when you're traveling, for me, traveling with the shoulder holster was very comfortable. And that, I think I showed you that was empty. I'm pretty sure I did, but let's just double check. Okay, so it's empty. It uses moon clips with the 9mm. It looked like this, so I brought spare ones of those as well, right? So that was what I did in doing this, doing the trip. That's the guns I brought with me, and a way to secure them and lock them up. Some people might use, ones with, what do you call it, like digital codes, but I usually have locked ones. And once again, you want to have holsters. Did I think about bringing other guns? Oh, yeah, I did. I said, well, I might want to bring, something like, it could be real simple for me just to carry this, Sig Sauer P365 380, which I'll show you is unloaded, right? And this is a very handy little gun, but look at where I'm traveling at, This is not really going to do the job out in the wilderness, okay? This is a 380, right? And there's another element to it, which I'll talk about in a minute. And I thought about bringing my XDE 45 Colt, right? And we'll show that this one's also unloaded. But although that would be a more powerful round, it's only a 3.3-inch barrel. I wouldn't be carrying my 5-inch government unless I brought that. But the one reason why I focused in on this was this only has 6 and 7-round magazines. Now, why would I do that? Well, the one state that I mentioned that, we could possibly end up in, like Washington, they have a limitation. They have magazine restrictions. And so I'd have to make sure I had a, semi-autos that meet those criteria and in compliance. And this would be a way to do that. This one, I'd have to remember not to bring anything over 10 rounds. So I just said, I don't want to deal with all that. Plus they're semi-autos. I'm just going to bring my revolvers. That's good enough for me. Got 5 to 6 to 7 rounds. In this case, 5 and 6 rounds. And that made it, for me, that simplified it. Now, I did go when I was visiting before. And like I said, you might want to think about that if you can get an out-of-state permit for something like that, which I did, so that when I'm in Washington, I would be in compliance. But I still got to look at what the current laws are and make sure nothing has changed. And a lot has changed just in the 2 years since I got it. So something to think about. So I had to plan all this, think about this. I never did go over into Washington. I never needed to, but just things that you have to think about. Make sure you got the right ammunition. Make sure you have the gun for what you're going to be, where you're going to be. Make sure you have a way to carry it that's comfortable. Make sure that it's okay for you to carry it wherever you're going to be, because, there's different prohibitions for different states, prohibited areas and stuff. So just wanted to share a little bit of that with you. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I just thought it would be interesting to share with you a little bit of my trip. I had a great time. It was very relaxing and everything. But that's how, that's what I did when I went. Now, remember, I'm just sharing with you my experiences, my thoughts as a hobbyist and enthusiast. You got to do your own research, your own follow-up, make sure you're in compliance with whatever you're doing. Make sure you're following all the local, state, and federal firearms laws, rules, permits, whatever local laws, So anyway, the most important thing, once again, let's getting back to safety, right, as Reed Desert Boy always says, which is be safe out there, whatever you're doing. Bye now.